of your imagined threat, right? In order to get to now, which is pure joy. Because once you get to now, it means that you've traveled this middle path long enough that you finally stop doing all of those things, right? And there are some that are somewhat forgiving. You know, these guys, they've got an outlet, but it takes you like twice as long as this one right here, right? They've got an outlet. Do you understand? So what do you have to do a lot of in the middle path? Stop being so serious. Because if you're just in the middle path and you're just disciplined, I can't eat that food because I'm disciplined. Come on, Guru Singh, come on, we're gonna have some fun. Let's go. No, I must be disciplined, right? One of the things that Yogi Bhajan said is the most obnoxious people are on a spiritual path. So you must be in the middle path of your own attitude as well. But that doesn't mean that you stray on the pieces that are most important. And one of the things that is extremely important is what you eat. Another thing that is extremely important is that you create a daily practice which is got yoga, stretching, breathing, deep breathing, breath of fire to detoxify your lungs, because we take on so much in our lungs, right? That you have kriyas so that you can get a very clear system of angles with the energy in your body. Chanting to get all of your brain power to focus on some syllables that clear the nerves, yes? That clear the processing parts of your body. And silence, vipassana. Being able to be truly silent. I don't mean being able to be quiet. I mean being able to be silent. That takes a long time of practicing to be able to be silent. Because when you're silent, something else takes place. That's when you can truly be intuitive. Otherwise, you're just telling yourself a good story. And you think that, it sounds like an intuitive story to me. Yeah, we had a question.
It's okay, yeah. Thank you.
Any questions? I mean, of course, there's a gazillion, but I mean, is there one that comes out at the moment? Yes.
What were the points along the middle path that we were supposed to...
Desires.
Desires?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, there's an old saying in spirituality, which is complete nonsense. It's called be desireless.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're in a physical body, so you can't be desireless because you desire breath. You desire food. And you don't think that I desire those things. Those are just needs. Well, there's no differentiation. Needs are desires. Desires are needs. Right? But what happens is that when you've been on the middle path long enough, you start to recognize, because there's desires out here, lots of desires. But the quality of the desires out here are different than the quality of the desires in here, and you begin to recognize the differentiation in the qualities of the desires. And you start being truly attracted to the ones that are going to give you the sustained experience of your health, wellness, consciousness, prosperity, all of those things. Anything else?
Why do you say 7 generations? Not 8 or not 6? What is it?
Because DNA actually lives for 7 generations, and then its messaging dissolves. So that's 254 ancestors. Everybody says, no, it's 256. Well, I've done the math. like 1,400 times. Because I too think that it should be 256, but it isn't. It's 254. But that's 2 parents, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, and 128. And some of them were you, by the way. Cosmologically, you're your own ancestors. That's interesting, but not that big a deal. I mean, you weren't your own ancestor within, well, for sure within one generation. I mean, you weren't your own mother or father. We have evidence of that. But it gets iffy after that. Yes?
Is there a way to know if you're on the middle path or if you're heading towards a dead end?
Is there a way to know?
Yeah, how do you know?
There's not a way to know, but there's a way to the way to know. And the way to know is just start doing the work. Start doing the disciplinary things, right? The daily practice. Do your meditation. Do your kriyas. Do your chanting. Discipline your eating, right? And the more you do of that, the less you're going to be, first of all, it operates in here because you start to clear this up. You start to clear up the illusion that you're throwing out there to try to protect you from your imagined threat. And then once you start to dissolve that, then it's just, you're like a homing pigeon. Do you know that those salmon that always go to the same stream, it's just a few cells in their brain that have a magnetic, like a solenoid. You know what a solenoid is? Right? And when they actually get closer and closer and closer to the stream of their origin, this solenoid moves and turns on a switch when they get right there, closer, closer, closer. There it is, right? And it's just like a homing pigeon. It's phenomenal. And so that's what happens, because as you discipline, there's less noise. And when there's less noise, when you're less distracted, attracted, consumed, all of these things, then the middle path. Because the middle path takes place inside of you. And then if it happens to you, it happens through you. So the middle path takes place inside of you and then performs outside of you. I haven't lost a single person in here, have I?
Nope.
I mean, it makes sense. It may not make total sense, but it makes sense, yes? Yes.
Yeah, when you say that our desires are the things that kind of coach us to go either way, tangents or down the middle paths or not, and you also kind of said at the start of class that death is an illusion. It seems like a lot of our desires are based off of things that either help us survive or, help us avoid dying or help us.
Yeah, those are things that are in the lower. Here's what happens. The physical body, right? And I'm not going to do this color-coded, right? So we're just going to do it like this. So you got the chakras 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then you've got the 8th chakra, which is a combination of all of them, which is your electromagnetic field that surrounds you, right? And each one of these has a particular attitude. And as you see, and has behavior patterns as well. And as you see that, that's what we want to change. So this is, the best is to have them all performing. And then, because if first chakra, let's just say you're really spiritual and you got all the knowledge and all of it, and this is weak. These areas are weak. The lower triangle is weak. what's going to happen is they're going to start messing with you. Because what is weakness? What is the first response from weakness? Insecurity. What's the first response from insecurity? No, it starts to make noise, right? What is it they say? The squeaky wheel, right? What does the squeaky wheel get?
Oil.
The most grease, right? So those areas on you that are not strong will be calling out. Why are they calling out? Because they need attention, right? It's a logical event. It's a logical event. And so when you do your yoga, when you do your chanting, when you do all this, you actually start to balance all of the chakras. And the chakras, survival, approval, dominion. This is the heart center here is unconditionality. In other words, the heart cannot be conditional. If your heart was conditional and it didn't like your left hand, your left hand would be in some serious trouble. Right? What if you have a family? You have 14 children and 2 of them you don't like. They're in serious trouble if they're not old enough to fend for themselves, right? I mean, that's an absurd story, but it is what it is. The heart center, the throat, understanding. This is where you can make up stories that don't make any difference, or you can understand what's coming in through the 6th chakra, which is your 3rd eye point. That's knowing. But knowing isn't any good if you don't understand what you know. So the throat chakra is the creative chakra of the upper triangle. The 2nd chakra is the creative chakra of the lower triangle. And then the 7th chakra, your crown, is allowing. And then the blending is your electromagnetic field, the aura. So that's what you're taking through life. And that's what you're servicing by the foods that you eat. By the way, and this is not going to be about, I'm not going to go off on a tirade here, but flesh foods, animals. What did they have to do in order for you to eat them?
Die.
So, are they real happy about that?
Yeah.
All right. Kosher laws were put in place to try to remove the blood before that unhappiness hit any of the tissue. That stuff travels at the speed of light. So there's no way that you can get the blood out before the attitude of the massive terror of death hits the tissue that you're eating. And so what you're eating when you eat flesh is the massive terror of being killed, of being slaughtered. Right? That's all it is. That's all it is. We're trained to eat flesh because everyone either does or wants to. Right? And I'm not going to go any further on that. You want to hear more about that? Read a book or two, anyway.
Thank you for your saying.
I actually was raised vegetarian. I've been vegetarian my whole life.
Me too. Well, not my whole life. My mom didn't think I'd grow if she...
My mom was raised on a farm and went vegetarian in the 60s, so we were all raised vegetarian. But I want to know your thoughts on eggs.
On what?
On
Eggs.
eggs.
Chicken eggs.
Eggs.
My brother
I thought you said AIDS.
has
Eggs.
Yeah, my brother has chickens and we eat some of the eggs, so I don't know. What do you think on eggs?
You don't want to hear what I think.
Yes, I do.
Well, we'll get into that. It's the least offensive of any of the events. So.
What about the natural order of like the ecosystem? Animals eat other animals, or they then?
Yeah, the only animals that eat other animals are built for that. They're called the carnivores. And the carnivores have an intestinal tract that is 1.5 times their body length. We have an intestinal tract that is 5 times the body length. And that's because what we have to do within that long body, that long intestinal tract, is that we have to turn plant protein, we have to break plant protein down into its amino acids and reassemble it as an animal protein. And it takes a longer time for that to take place. Carnivores also have a different set of teeth. We have grinders and cutters, and they have a different form of enamel on their teeth, and they have a different relationship between their pancreas and their liver and their spleen, which is the system that we use to turn animal protein into, plant protein into animal protein. You know, whenever somebody says to me, well, where do you get your protein? I say the same place an elephant does, you know, because a giraffe does. You know, these are much larger, much stronger bodies than we have, and they have no problem whatsoever, you know, eating leaves and twigs and grass and stuff, because their system. The one thing that you can't do is you can't go cold turkey. What a terrible metaphor when you're talking about vegetarianism. You can't go cold turkey because your body is lazy. If you're eating meat, your body is lazy. And so you're going to have to wean yourself. Otherwise, there's going to be all sorts of hell to pay. But because you need to retrain your glands and organs to do the work that they were meant to do. But once they start doing the work that they're meant to do, it's harder, yeah. It's harder for your body to produce animal protein. And it's easier for your body if you just put it in, right? Easier. Easier. Oh, I was so exhausted when I was a vegetarian, I've heard. Oh, I start eating meat again. Yeah. Yeah. Blood is good stuff, man. You know, like, you know. But in this picture of things, it's not just about the quick fix. In this picture of things, it's about getting to silence. And you can't get to silence if you've got a goat or a chicken or a cow yelling inside your blood. Because that's what you're eating. You're eating the peptides and the hormones from those creatures who were slaughtered. And they're not happy. Don't keep me on food, please. Because when I go down this path, it gets late really quickly. And we got yoga to do. So, a non-food question. That one? Okay. I see 2 hands went down. Anything else? Okay. Pop quiz. What is this that surrounds the now? And it isn't separate from you. What is that surrounds the now? The perceived or imagined threat. Yes? And what is the perceived and imagined threat built from? Genealogically, it's your DNA through 7 generations. Cosmologically, it's your incarnations. Right? And currently, it's your chronology. So it could be current experiences